God uses ordinary people. He does in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, he lets us see all into the personal lives of the people that he called. Thank God for the Old Testament, because it gives us a realistic view of people who were good and bad, who were strong and weak, who were right and wrong, who were victorious and victimized. It helps us to assess our own life, that your life is not going to be a straight line. It's not going to be a straight horizontal. There's going to be peaks and valleys and uprisings and downsetting. Such is life. Somebody was talking to me the other day about something they were going through, and I told them life is doing what life does. Life is just doing what life does. It's not a demonic attack. It's not spiritual warfare. Life is just doing what life does. It gives and it takes. It makes you laugh. It makes you cry. It has moments of victory and it has moments of defeat. Such is the case with the character before us today. He's an interesting character. I must admit that if I were Jesus, I probably would not knowingly have gotten involved with this guy. There are certain people, if you get involved with them, they're going to be a lot of work. All of us going to be some work. But there are certain people that's going to be a lot of work. This guy was a lot of work. I would have tried to, if I only had 12 guys in 3 years to get it all done, I'd try to pick 12 of the best to make it easy so that I didn't have to waste time ministering inwardly while I'm trying to reach outwardly. But such is life. Such is life. You're always ministering outwardly and inwardly simultaneously. You're always trying to be a message to the world and not lose your own house. You're always trying to encourage somebody and wrestling with discouragement inside of yourself. Where are my real people at? But Jesus had to get a hold of this guy because this guy did not know who he was. When Jesus first met him, he is one of the first disciples Jesus picked. This guy thought he was just a businessman. He thought he was a business owner. He had a fishing company. He had a fishing fleet. He went out every day to fish. When Jesus first met him, that's how he saw himself, as a fisherman. And Jesus had a higher vision of him and said, I will make you fishers of men. Right now you're fishers of fish. You're doing what you're going to do on a lower level. Your history is always a glimpse of what you're going to do in your destiny. God's going to take something that you already did and take it to the next level and use it to bless you. You're going to the next dimension. You're still going to be fishing, but you're going to fish in another kind of way. And he gets a hold of Peter, and he comes along on Peter at a time that Peter is washing his nets. He's washing his nets. He thought he was through for the day. And Jesus walks down to the seashore, and Peter and Andrew are washing their nets. And Jesus says to him, can I use your boat? Suppose Peter had said no. That's my boat. I don't know you. I might have said no. Don't look at me all funny. Can I use your car? That's the equivalent of somebody strange you don't know just walking up to you saying, can I borrow your car? Peter's boat was his livelihood. But he had a giving spirit. That might be why God chose him. He had a giving, generous spirit. The very thing that all your friends tell you to stop being, that might be the very thing that got his whole life changed. He had not become cynical yet. He had not become so suspicious yet. Peter let a stranger borrow his boat. I got to bring it down where you can see the level of sacrifice. Somebody just walk up to you at 7-Eleven and say, let me use your car for a minute. You say, get out of here. And all of a sudden, something happens. Because what Jesus is really teaching Peter is, listen to this, his business is his platform. Peter's business becomes Christ's platform. I put you in business so you could have this moment. I didn't put you in this business about the fish. I started you out as a fisherman because I knew I was coming and I was going to need somebody I could trust to take me across the waters. I'm positioning you for purpose, not for profit. Oh my God, I'm preaching already. God didn't put you on that job to make money. God can let money rain down in your backyard if he wanted to. God can let somebody just give you some money, win some money, walk away with some money. God put you on that job for purpose. And a relationship ensued. When Jesus got through preaching on Peter's boat, there was a connection, there was a tie, almost like an Elijah-Elisha moment. It was a tie where Jesus says to Peter, follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. In order to follow Jesus, he had to walk away from what he had in mind. The hardest thing in the world is to walk away from what you had in mind. He had never got up that morning thinking, I'm going to stop fishing and start driving this guy around. That was not what he was planning to do for the next 3 years of his life. But for the next 3 years of his life, he becomes an Uber driver, moving Jesus from place to place, having an encounter with Jesus that was life-changing. And his life would never be the same again. Not only does he become Jesus' driver on the water, he has encounters because of his connection with Jesus that he would have never had any other way. Peter got to walk on the water just because he was connected to Jesus. It does matter who you're connected to. There are certain perks and certain benefits and certain favors that come not because of who you are, but because of who you're connected to. You get to have some experiences just because you're connected to the right people. That's why the enemy is trying to isolate you. Because many times your blessing is in your relationship with the very person he's trying to cut you off from. I don't know who I'm preaching to. Your next is in your connections. Your next is in your connection. And Peter has a next, and all of a sudden he becomes a part of Jesus' inner circle with Jesus, the Messiah, the son of David, the seed of Abraham, the root of Jesse, the I am, the mighty God, the Prince of Peace, the everlasting Father, the kinsman redeemer, the day star, the lily of the valley, the Son of God, Emmanuel, Jehovah Sikkenu, Jehovah Rohi, Jehovah Mana. He becomes in the inner circle with El Shaddai. Oh God, can you imagine what it's like to be just kicking it with Jesus? It's one thing to come worship him. It's another thing to be at Starbucks with Jesus. Hey, Jesus, let's stop at McDonald's and get a Big Mac and fry. Just kicking it with Jesus. He was in the inner circle and he got to do things he would have never done. He would have never got to walk on the water had he not been connected with Jesus. He never would have gotten to see the woman with the issue of blood get healed if he wasn't connected with Jesus. He never would have seen blind Bartimaeus' eyes open up, but he got it because he was connected to Jesus. Is anybody connected to Jesus? There's some blessings you're going to get just because you're connected with Jesus. There's some blessings you're going to get because you're connected with Jesus. He was part of the inner circle. And he probably had less reason to be in the inner circle. If God would judge like men, Peter would have never made the cut to be in the inner circle. He was the most unlearned of all the disciples. He was not there because he was an intellectual. He was not there because he was educated, but he had something about him. There's a thing that God puts inside of people that transcends your background, your intellect, your